A big show coming up today. AFL South East CEO John Anderson joins us to discuss the many issues dominating the MPNFL as 4 club presidents put forward their thoughts on the current structure of the league and how it should look going forward. On the field, one of the games of the season as GameFace makes its calling debut as Edith Vale Aspendale hangs on against Pines in a thriller. Sorrento again shows they're the team to beat in First Division by storming home against Mount Eliza. An extraordinary and tough day at Frankston YCW as the Stonecats' Luke Painter suffers a serious injury against Seaford, forcing the game to be called off. And in Second Division, there might be a new premiership favourite as Red Hill Thrashers Hastings and Rye and Langwarren breathe life into the battle for the top 5, which looked done and dusted last week. We have a new segment called Lookalikes where no one's safe. And as usual, we'll have our teams of the week with regular panellists Tony Blackford, Chris Holcomb and Josh Moore. Plenty to sink our teeth into on the GameFace Footy Show. Let's go. It's great to be here for another big week on the GameFace Footy Show. As I said, a lot to get through. It'll be wonderful to speak to the CEO of AFL South East, John Anderson, very, very shortly. But Tony Blackford and Chris Holcomb are here, as they always are. And can I say, boys, great to be here, and how good it was to call the footy yesterday on GameFace. The first time, as they say, for a racehorse. I needed the run, but enjoyed the game. It was an absolute thriller. Thanks so much to Liam Wilson for putting it all together, and also, of course, our boss Glenn Carter. They did all the hard work. All I did, I needed to turn up and just try and call the game to the best.
It was always going to be a good game, Chris, wasn't it?
Game.
We picked it to be a close one.
Yeah.
And I think we picked Edith Vale in a real close one. So.
I think that Division 1, that whole round was fantastic on the weekend.
Yeah, the top 4, I mean, they're very, very good sides. I mean, Edith Vale Aspendale still missing 3 or 4 key players. I didn't think they played very well. 20 scoring shots to 29. I think later on, Paddy Swain was lamenting the fact they had more than 50 inside 50s.
Yeah.
And Edith Vale had 35, and they still found a way to win.
The kicking efficiency was good.
Yeah, very good. I mean, they're players from Noble Park that they've picked up, such as
Johns.
Yeah, Johns very good.
Yep.
Monahan was quiet for 3 quarters, but got into it in the last quarter. And Tim Kelly, they just found a way to help get them over the line. They're a good side, but I think Pines are an excellent side. They're not far away, boys.
They are. How was that finish, mate?
Oh, yeah, it was great. I mean,
did you hear the siren?
I did not hear the siren, but Glenn Carter heard the siren and said, "Siren, Dan, siren." And I said, "Well, the umpire hasn't heard it. We're still going." And then we heard the siren, and Graham Yates, he was furious. He stormed off, and Glenn said to me, "I don't think we'll get an interview with him." I said, "Yeah, we'll get an interview with him." He was absolutely professional and fantastic, as he always is. And just a bit disappointed that no one heard the siren, but delighted with the team's win. Well, they can play a lot better, obviously.
The game doesn't stop until that umpire hears it and blows full time.
That's right. They were charging, weren't they?
Yeah. So it could have been the whole result. But I'm not hearing. That's why Yada was so upset. But it went the right way anyway.
I remember a game down at Rye, and the siren went, and I got the ball just after the siren went, and then I kicked a goal, and we won. And the umpire hadn't heard the siren.
Really? So you won the game?
Yeah, won the game.
There would have been a lot of issues.
Well done, Blackers. Good work, mate.
Typical you, Blackers. Now, here's a little bit of what actually happened in what was a great day for GameFace and a wonderful day for the whole competition. Coach, you trust them every single day of the week. Potts will kick back into play, and a half-distance pass is a good one. He finds a target. This is Corey Ash, marking at half-back. He has players leading for him in the commentary. Wing Bonghetti's the target. Falls to ground level. Hurry beats the ball. That's a good play by Plain, but it comes out the bussing of the Edith Vale Aspendale team. Gets the hand pass now to Woodridge from Liam Harris. Kicks inside 50. And can I thank Brett Dunn, the coach of Coringal, for being my special comments man in that match. He was terrific, did a wonderful job, and we're going to do it all again next week. We're apparently being a commentary box next week, boys. Yeah. The palatial suite, not that being in the marquee wasn't a palatial suite. I thought it was terrific, but we'll be a little bit higher. Bond Beach and YCW, that'll be a very interesting game, considering, again, the week that YCW have been through. And when we go through the First Division matches, we'll get to that. Now, talking of which, YCW and Seaford, Luke Painter, we wish him all the best. Dislocated hip. What a horrible, horrible injury. Still heavily sedated. Josh Butland has visited him, and he was heavily sedated as of Monday. And we hope he's going to be okay.
And Dan, it wasn't in any sort of incident. He was just running along, and he dislocated his hip by doing that.
Is that right?
Yeah, it wasn't in a pack situation.
Innocuous.
I was talking to Murph from Seaford, and it was right in front of him, and he saw what happened, and one unfolded, and he thought, God, he's going to get up. But it took ages for it to all unfold.
Wayne Capp came in and visited us in the commentary box at Pines, and this is what he had to say about the Luke Painter incident. Unbelievably bad injury, and it forced the game to be stopped yesterday. Tell us what was going through your mind when it happened.
Well, initially I watched it happen, and he collapsed, and I sort of knew that it was probably going to be his hip because he'd been a bit sore, but there was no indication that there was a weakness or anything there. He went down, the game continued for a minute or so after, and then it was realised how serious the injury was. We came to a stop. Our staff and also the Seaford trainers were fantastic too. I'd like to thank them for their help yesterday while I got the opportunity. But it was decided not to move him because he was in so much pain, and an ambulance was called. He's still in a heap of pain. I've had correspondence with his mum this morning, and I just spoke to a couple of people then to find out any more, but he's been seen by a surgeon. He's tied to the Frankston Footy Club as well, so they've sent their doctors over to see him, and yeah, there's no really prognosis of what actual damage has happened to him yet, but I think it's all about just managing his pain.
And at the time it was a low-scoring scrap, boys. Seaford were in front, but YCW, you would have thought, had all the momentum and extra firepower. Painter was back in, Credlin back in, LaFontaine and Wallace. It was called a draw, a fair result in the end.
Has to be before half-time, Dan. I understand, and when something like that happens, after half-time, it goes the other way. The side that's in front would have got the points.
But that's going to have some huge implications back end, because you got YC fighting for that final spot. You got Seaford trying to get off relegation. Huge implications.
Well, it is. I mean, that's what makes it such a great competition.
But in saying that, Chris, I reckon if the game had have unfolded the way it was going to, YC probably would have got the points. So that's 2 extra bonus points to Seaford.
Still a concern with all their good players that they weren't scoring, and they obviously needed to work on that.
It's 5 goals to 5 points to 4 points in the first quarter.
That's been their tale all year. They've been sort of struggling through that first half, and then they've found a way to get over the line. So might have happened the same. You don't know.
Now, Red Hill, one of your old teams, Tone. The Hillmen,
really well,
they are firing. Can they win the premiership, boys?
Well, I think they've got exactly what it takes. I think Chris Irving has really helped them. He's come back, and because you've got to remember, he played the first couple of games, and then he's been out for 3 or 4 weeks, but kicked 6 on the weekend. Really good effort by Red Hill.
We haven't seen a side either pants a top 4 or 5 side. They've always just got over the line. That was a pantsing. Hastings were terrible.
Red Hill Hastings have been good. We talked about them last week being a legitimate premiership contender. Red Hill have only ever won 1 premiership. Maybe they win their second this year, and they've been in great form. That was a terrific result for them. They're now 4th. Hastings are 5th. They've got this great percentage. Now, Glenn Carter was very busy on the weekend, and he was able to get into the 3/4 time huddle of Jamie Molo, the coach of Red Hill, against Hastings on the weekend.
Quarter, really good.
Really tight, boys.
What was impressive, was the way we moved the ball. When we talked about Plan B, that composure, several times, bang, 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 could have done a little bit more, but that Plan B's working really well, right? We don't have to give them back the footy by moving the ball quickly when we don't have to. All right, just move the ball around, nice and slow, composed, get it forward. And when we do, we've been going inside 50 9 times for 6 scoring shots. So our conversion's there. We've been waiting for that all the time. Last 3 weeks, they're on the board, finish off your work. Now you're starting to finish off your work, and you're getting the reward for it by the scoreboard pressure. Okay, and what you can guarantee is the first 10 minutes what they're going to do. Okay, there's no. We played enough footy, everyone here, to know what they're going to do for the first 10 minutes. You've got to match that intensity, then get it drawn back the other way. The other one too is those free kicks from the umpire, right? Maybe they're bullshit, maybe they're not. But he's not going to change his decision. And when we're not throwing the ball back to the right bloke, when we're doing other things that give them 50-metre penalties, we've given them 2 looks at goal they didn't.
This is the club going beautifully, boys. Lots of supporters, we believe, from Red Hill at the game. It was a Hastings home game. You would have thought there might have been more Hastings supporters, but Red Hill loving their footy at the moment, Tone, and you know the club better than most.
And they've got great under-19s. Like last year they won the under-19 flag. This year they're undefeated. And a lot of those kids have come from Mount Martha, South Mornington and Belnary, which has been great for the club.
Can they win it?
Oh, of course, I think they can.
Definitely.
I think the evenness of the competition, I think we'll talk about that a bit later. They play Chelsea this week, and on that big open ground at Red Hill, the big showground, I think that they'll beat Chelsea.
Now, another big game in First Division, and this was a ripper. Saw a fair portion of this, and Mount Eliza were great for 3 quarters, but what a good side. This Sorrento team is 6-1 in the last quarter. Before the game, I was lucky enough to catch up with the reserves coach and senior player Dion Phillips. He's also an assistant coach and a man who's back in the senior team. He's also re-signed as coach, Luke Tapscott, and he played a big part in that win. But this is what they had to say before the match. You're back playing footy, Luke, and you said to me a bit earlier you are chomping at the bit.
Bloody oath, it's good to be back. It was something different being on the sidelines for a few weeks. Yeah. Learned a little bit, but always good to be back out there.
What did you learn the most?
Just how to implement tactics at different parts of the game. You obviously see it differently when you're not out there, head over the footy, and just some guidelines for Dion and Plugger to follow, I suppose. And
do you think it's made you a better coach, having a few weeks on the sidelines?
I think so. Dion says I'll carry on a bit on the sideline, so he'll be pretty happy for me to get back out there. But obviously learn a bit about myself and see players in a different way as well.
Lee Paholke kicked 5 goals. He may have got himself in a bit of trouble with people in the crowd. He's an entertainer, Chris, though, isn't he? We love him.
He is, and he's been doing that for years. That's why I don't think it's such a surprise. Mount Eliza probably got their first look at him at Mount Eliza for a little while, so that's what you expect from him every week. But Mount Eliza, fantastic. Their kids are playing good footy. They're going hard at the pill. It just showed, though, that last quarter, and it might happen in finals. No, it wasn't a lapse. It was just Hallahan, Tapscott, Marston all stepped up and just played at that level that Mount Eliza couldn't go with. That was it.
They've got to be the team to beat.
No, I still don't think they're the team to beat. But
you don't think they are?
Well, they're going to have Swartz come back into that side. Treeby. They're going to have a kid called Chad Harris, and Chris Dawes didn't play either.
I just think it's going to be a cracking final series. After seeing those top 4 sides play on the weekend in the really close games, anyone can win it at this stage.
Right.
It's just going to be who's better on the day.
When does Treeby come back? They out of house rules yet?
Yeah, next week, I think. I think he trained during the week.
Okay.
And I know Schwartz trained during the week. And both were thinking about playing this week, but give it one more week on the track.
Why is Schwartz coming back? Because when we spoke to him about a month ago, during
Did you talk to him about that?
Edith Vale Aspendale match, he said he was finished. He was just looking forward to going to the footy with his kids, maybe having a couple of beers. We didn't get the impression at all that he was going to come back.
Yeah, he's probably coy to talk about it, but realistically, he probably sees another opportunity. I mean, it's getting to the end of his career. There's not many opportunities you get to win a premiership, and that's all it is. So.
Well, the other big game, of course, we spoke about it briefly, was the fact that we were at Pines and Edith Vale Aspendale at the Eric Bell Reserve. Yeah, it was a good crowd. It was a terrific match.
Good supporters, the Pines supporters.
They do love their footy and they're very passionate about their footy. And Edith Vale Aspendale supporters will travel as well. And it was just one of the great games. And Scanlon and Mannix, wonderful viewing. 2 hard nuts at it all day. I thought Steve Mannix helped carry his team over the line. I thought Paul Scanlon at the age of 40. According to Paddy Swain, he hasn't ruled out going again next year. And I think most people would agree that the better team on the day lost because they were wasteful in front of goal. Those tall forwards, that's an area that Edith Vale needs to address. They'll get Dorr back.
Yeah.
They've got to find some key defenders because they were exposed a little bit by Pines' tall forwards.
Well, these are big wins, particularly against a side that's likely to make the finals, particularly when you win away by 1 point. Graham Yates, how does it rate today?
Rates pretty highly, Dan. Got off to a really slow start. We're poor in the first 10 minutes. They kicked 4 goals on us pretty quickly. It's a credit to the players who put their head down, worked hard. We dragged ourselves back into the game. It was a real arm wrestle, and we talked about games like this go down to the last play. So we just wanted to make sure our work rate was up to speed and our stoppage work needed a bit of improvement. And we thought we got a bit more of the ball, so we got more opportunities, which helps us in the end. The way that they handled themselves under pressure was really good. Certainly better than me anyway, Dan.
Well, you looked a bit annoyed with the siren. I mean, I didn't hear the siren either. I was calling the game.
Someone yelled out that the siren went, so the game was still going. So, and they had it in their forward line. So we just wanted to make sure that everybody knew what was going on. So it was a tough win in the end and deserved on our behalf. Pines are a really good opposition and we respect them a lot, so it's a great win for us.
Well, Paddy Swain, a 1 point loss, 29 scoring shots to 20. Bad kicking, bad footy?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no doubt about it. We've kicked poorly. Probably one of those ones where you felt like we were probably right in the game or probably playing the better footy. And if you don't finish it, you're not probably playing the better footy, are you? Because young Maguire, who's finished off with that goal in the end, that was a clutch goal, and he was able to do it. So our boys couldn't. Disappointing. I thought effort-wise, you couldn't question our fellas' effort. It was just a bit of execution at the end, and we'll go back and tidy it up. I think that last stoppage, we'll probably have a look at that as well, how they were able to get that quick kick out in the mark. So we'll bounce back. We're a pretty proud club and a pretty proud group, so we'll definitely bounce back.
Yeah, Nick Carlin and Mullins down there, they got taught a lesson. But if you have a look at the game, Pines had all their top players up and about. Potsy, Boswell, good off a half-back flank. Their forwards were getting opportunities. You look at Edithvale's movers, Monaghan was down, Clarkey was down. They've got a few to come through. I didn't think they played overly well and still got the points. That's what good sides do, mate.
I thought Boswell was fantastic too.
He's a good running defender.
Yeah, he is. Well, I've actually called him the specimen, and you heard me say it, and apparently he loved it.
But if you have a look at the first quarter, he had 3 kicked on him in the first quarter. He's loose as they come.
Yeah.
You can't do that in finals.
Well, Graham Yates was clever. I don't know whether he went into the huddle at three-quarter time, Chris, but he said, get on 31, and Bradley Tag by name, actually did that in that last quarter. It was a very good performance. So plenty going on. We'll talk more about First Division shortly, but we'll be back in a second with Division 2, looking at what happened in another big round of footy in Division 2, and also Blackers will have his Team of the Week, which continues, Chris, to be heavily criticised.
I wouldn't have been criticised last week, Dan. I reckon I got spot on.
No, you didn't. In Division 2, GameFace Player of the Year award. Looking at the seniors first, and Terry Wheeler of Dramana is in front. Wheeler scored 6 points in Dramana's hard-fought win over Tyab. He goes to 34. Brendan Doyle of Tyab, 2 points to go to 33. Travis Bravo of Pearsdale, 3 points. He's on 30. Billy Quigley of Dramana hasn't scored for a few weeks, remains on 29. Ben Sedgwick of Somerville played over 200 games for the Eagles. He remains on 29, also pointless on the weekend. And Andrew Mathers of Coringal had a very good weekend. He picked up 5 points to go to 28. And Tierran Head of Rye remains also on 28. Looking at the reserves from Division 2, and Scott Sterling, after kicking 7 goals, and he leads the goal kicking, also leads the Best Player Award. And the Rye player secured 6 points to move to 39. Dane Leighton Kozakis of Dramana, he got 2 points to go to 33. James Longley of Langwarrin collected 6 points. He's on 29, and he's 1 point ahead of Cody Ware of Hastings, who didn't score in the weekend. He remains on 28. And in the under-19s in second division, this man's been in front the entire time, and he might nearly have the award done and dusted the way he's playing. He got another 6 points. That's Tristan Giuliano from Chelsea. He's on 55, 14 points ahead of the rest of the field. Lockie Cox of Tyab's on 41. Will Hose of Tyab moves to 41 with 6 points. Nathan McLean of Devon Meadows, 5 points to go to 39. 7 points ahead of Caleb Watkins of Hastings, who scored 2 points to be 32. And they're the top 5 in Division 2 of the Under-19's Best Player Award for GameFace. In the second division goal kicking, Jesse Murphy booted another 6, 2 weeks in a row from Langwarrin. He's 46, and he's got a big lead in the goal kicking now. Curtis Bywater of Chelsea, 2 to move to 39. Michael Theodoridis of Devon Meadows, 2. He's on 33. 2 goals to Ethan Johnston of Dramana, and he goes to 32, and 1 goal to Hewitt of Hastings. He's also on 32. In the reserve, Scott Sterling's taken the lead. A big bag for Rise, 7. He's 32. 5 in front of Coringal's Richard Mathers. 2 goals on the weekend to go to 27, and Andrew Silver remains on 18. He's from Chelsea. In the under-19s, a new leader as well. Logan Sanford of Red Hill kicked 5. He's on 35. Shannon Reid of Langwarrin, none on the weekend. He's 31. 2 goals to Ben Tovey of Dramana to go to 26, and also 2 goals to Nathan Allen of Langwarrin. He's also on 26. Pencon Garden Supplies and Mini Mix Concrete is a family-owned business that has served the Mornington Peninsula magnificently for more than 50 years. For all your garden and building supplies, concrete, soil, sand and mulch, visit Bart and the team at 58 Peninsula Avenue Rye, or call 5985 2252 or 5985 2998. In second division, Coringal thrashed bottom team Crib Point by 98 points. Dramana took all day to shake a persistent Tyab, but kicked 6 goals to none in the final quarter to win by 54 points. Chelsea keeps winning, and this time its victim was Devon Meadows to the tune of 27 points. Rye broke a 4-game losing streak, proving far too good for Pearsdale. Langwarrin stayed in the finals race and at the same time put paid to Somerville's chances with a 2-goal triumph. League leading goal kicker Jesse Murphy kicked 6 for the Roos, and Red Hill shot into premiership calculations by belting Hastings by 62 points to replace the Blues in 4th spot on the ladder. Yes, second division matches were very interesting over the weekend. We had, of course, one match between top 5 teams. We touched on it earlier in the headlines, Red Hill and Hastings. Hastings were probably warm favourites, 4th against 5th, but you'd have to say Red Hill winning was going to be an upset, but Red Hill thrashing Hastings was a monumental upset time.
Yeah, I think last week Chris and I both tipped Red Hill to win, but by the margin, nobody would have picked them by 10 goals. I think they played that Hastings ground really well, and at the moment what they've got is they've got some targets up forward. Like I said, Chris Irving's been outstanding for. He kicked 6, and Jono Ross bobbed up for another 6 as well, and he's an opportunist forward. He's a wonderful little player. But they've got a good ruckman in Wimpo. They've got good leaders in Jake and Marcus Delago. Sean Marchetti's playing outstanding football. Their back line with Jonas Iverson and some young kids down there. It's a good mix. Dan Mack was outstanding too for them.
Can they be stopped, Chris? Do you think?
Oh, definitely. That competition is fantastic.
It's even too, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. Langy is they've got that sniff with that last spot that they're going for. Now Hastings looks like the vulnerable one, but those top 3 that are going through, they aren't laydowns at all.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
And I think that on the big open grounds, Chelsea and Coringal will be exploited by Red Hill's leg speed.
Yeah.
I mean, we shut the gate in the top 5 last week, but it looks like it's well and truly over now. I mean, Rye's 2 games out, probably a bit far away, but Langwarrin have a pretty good percentage, don't they?
Yeah, they play Coringal and Red Hill over the next 2 weeks, so time will tell, Dan.
We'll see how good they are. Now, Todd Gardner's been an outstanding player for Chelsea. He's done a great job to get to 100 games. He played well again on the weekend. He kicked a couple of goals, and we were lucky enough to catch up with him in the lead up to that match. Todd, congratulations on the milestone. What's it mean to you?
Yeah, thanks, mate. It means a great deal. Obviously, I've grown up here since under 9s right through, so it's been a good journey, and it's come pretty quick. What did you learn about yourself in getting an opportunity at VFL level, even though it was so brief, unfortunately? Yeah, it's a lot different to local footy. The way they, dissect games and the transition and ball movement and all that type of thing. I was able to bring back a fair bit from there to back to Chelsea, and feel like it's made me grow as a footballer. It was a good experience, although it was only 2 years. It was good. Yeah, so well done to Todd Gardner again, who's been a great servant at the Chelsea Footy Club and playing a big role for them.
Oh, 100%. Lockie Hine made his debut for the Coringal Football Club. He's the son of Trevor Hine, who's a Heather Hill player, and they both played cricket at Heather Hill, and that's where Dermot Burton obviously presented Lockie with his first jumper, which is a wonderful achievement.
Let's go to jump presentation. First of all, to the guys here, my association with young Locke, I've seen him when he was about that big, and then in recent years, just with the Heather Hill Cricket Club, I've seen him go from being a young, raw teenager to a older, raw teenager. The one thing you walk away with is a reputation. How you forge that reputation starts today. And that is your first step into true adult manhood. And it's a bloody glorious moment, mate. And I'm jealous of you that you got the chance to do it. I've done it. Everyone else in this room with this Coringal jumper on has done it. And I'm seriously jealous of you, mate, because you've got a wonderful opportunity. Make the most of it. Be proud to wear the jumper, and the rest of the boys around here be proud to accept him as one of you.
There was an interesting story on Derman. He was there. He was at Coringal one time in the 80s, and he was there with his dad.
You're a mate of yours, isn't he?
Yeah, he was there with his dad, watching his brother Paul play. Anyway, on the hill, his dad was getting in a bit vocal, and Dermot's dad got into a bit of a brawl, right? So they're on the hill. So it was on a Saturday. Dermot was flying up to Sydney that night or that next morning to play Sydney, and his dad got into an all-in brawl on the hill. Anyway, Dermot come over and he whacked this guy. Anyway, cut a long story short, he actually broke his hand.
Did he?
Broke his hand.
Couldn't play?
No, he went up to Sydney, right? he went up to Sydney, and I think he only lasted the first quarter.
Oh, I don't think Alan Jones would have been too happy. I always remember when he had the yellow coloured hair and the green boots, and Alan Jones saw him. He said, "Lucky Sonny,
So
you're getting
can play.
your kick." Yeah,
You can
exactly
play.
right. Oh, he's one of the
Lucky
great
son.
men, Dermot. And what an honour that would have been for Lockie Hine to receive his jumper from the brilliant Dermot Brereton. Now, Lockie Cox returned to Tyab as well, and that was good news for
Yeah, that's great for him. Great to see those sort of people getting back into the seniors.
you. You need people like that around football clubs, don't you?
Hey, Jesse Murphy kicked 6 goals last week. Chris Irving kicked 6 goals, and Jono Ross kicked 6 goals. So they're the big movers.
Jesse's 7 clear in the goal kicking now,
Is he?
46. That's his second bag of 6 in a row, and he had a great start, Chris, and had a few weeks where he found goals hard to come
Got
by.
out of
but
my side, yeah.
He's found his form again, hasn't he? So
playing
he's
great
been a
footy.
very good pickup for
He's
him.
playing great footy, and Lange is sort of surging with him. Be interesting if he makes Blackers team of the week this week.
Who's that? Jess?
Yeah.
Oh, of course he is.
Well,
yeah.
go on, Blackers.
So I've got
You've
7
been smashed
changes.
again.
7 changes, right? Because there's a few blokes that
7?
have, a few blokes dropped away.
Is that because of all the negative comments you've had on social media this week?
I'm not too sure, but there's a few blokes that hadn't played. There's a few blokes that their form has dropped off too, Dan. So Paxton in the back line, Jonas Iverson comes back into the side, and Patterson from Langwarren stays in the side. McVeigh from Hastings, Rogash from Hastings, and Clark from Chelsea across the half-back line. The centre line is Wheeler, Gardner, who we just saw played his 100th game, and Jocka Mitchell from Red Hill. Ethan Johnson from Germana. Gerard Brown from Langwarren comes into the side. His form over the last 3 weeks has been outstanding. Luke Hewitt still stays in there from Hastings on the half-forward flank. The big movers are Chris Irving. He comes into the side after kicking 6. Murphy stays there with 6, and Jono Ross with 6. So that's not a bad forward line, is it?
That's a brilliant forward line.
Well, you wouldn't think that I'd get knocked on that, would you?
Oh,
There's
you
18
will.
goals.
You will.
18 goals got kicked there.
Someone will be
You've
annoyed.
forgotten something.
Goodall and Pryor haven't played the last week, so Win Pope comes in for the ruck from Red Hill. McGuinness from Summy, ruck roving, and Jake Mould comes into the roving position. And on the bench, King from Hastings is the other ruckman. Bywater from Chelsea, McGuinness from Coringal kicked 3 on the weekend. Quigley from Dramana, Gillis from Summy, and Burke from Coringal make up the interchange.
A lot of Red Hill blokes there, mate. I don't know if
A lot.
I'm copper hiding there or...
I think, well, their form's been really good.
Well,
Absolutely.
the public will tell us, mate, if you got it right or
Can
not.
I just mention Andrew McGuinness spoke to his brother before a match that Coringal played against Chelsea a couple of weeks ago. He was not a bad player at Carlton until he got injured. I saw him play a few matches, and a good mate of mine's a Carlton supporter, so he's going to be a star, but just couldn't quite get the body right after he did his knee, Chris.
And when he come back to Coringal, they tried to play him out of position. They played him as a on-baller. And when they started putting him back behind the ball, he started to find a heap, which is probably where he's more comfortable.
Yeah, you can read it off the
Yeah.
boot a bit better.
Yeah.
Good players find the ball.
Well, if you don't like Blackers team, which most people haven't so far, but if you do like Blackers team, you can also get on Facebook and put your view forward for this week, and we'll see if we get more positive views next week, Tone.
I hope so.
As we get ready for another round of footy in second division. Up next, our special guest will join us, and we look forward to talking to him. There's a lot going on in the world of football off the field in the Mornington Peninsula Football Netball League, and that is the man in charge of the competition, AFL Southeast CEO.
Be interesting to down there.
Yeah. Low Farms, the Australian grower and supplier of rocket, lettuce, spinach and salad mixes.
Websites, videos, Google marketing, SEO. What do you need for your business? Call the team at Chill. They really know their stuff.
It's a great pleasure to have as our special guest today the CEO of AFL Southeast. Lots going on, as we said earlier in the introduction to the show. John Anderson. John, great to have you with us.
It's good to be here, Dan. Yep, very good.
Now, John, when you were appointed by the Region's chairman, Roger Hampson, who's, like yourself, got a big background in sports administration, and also he was my school teacher at Burke Hall way back in 1981 and played some footy in Essendon. Yeah, not that was one of his great moments, I think. I don't think I was one of his great students. What was your job description?
Oh, well, the Region General Manager for AFL South East. So basically, I'm employed by AFL Victoria and paid for by AFL Victoria, by the way, to oversee football in the AFL South East region. So within that, there's the MPNFL is obviously a very important chunk of it. The MPNFL has its own operation management as well. But really, my role, if you want to sort of put a very short description of it, it's to try and increase participation in football. So that's a genuine objective of AFL Victoria. And also club sustainability. Club sustainability is a big part of it. And so most of the strategic direction that I take is all about getting more people playing football and clubs being sustainable for the long term.
John, do you think the participation in football has dropped?
Look, the numbers show that it hasn't, but I have to say that that's been.
Is that because girls' football?
Women's football is a growth factor. That probably boys' football is probably stagnant. Specific about the Mornington Peninsula region, it's a major concern to us that only 5 teams out of the 10 Mornington Peninsula junior
17s
have got under 17s, and it's a real struggle. Sorrento hasn't got any under 17s or under 19s for that matter. Rye and Rosebud, for example, they do have under 17s because they work hard in working with their junior club.
John, it's an opinion-based industry. We've got a lot of presidents out there who do a lot of good for their clubs. In fact, all volunteers do a lot for their clubs in their endeavours to ensure their clubs survive. Now, over the weekend, we were again out and about, GameFace, speaking to a lot of presidents who've got different views on the future of the competition, the current state of the competition. We spoke to Bernie Barmer from Sorrento, Mick Dunn from Mount Eliza, and also Norm Whiteside, Lang Warren's president, Chris Fawcett, who's the man in charge at Somerville. Let's firstly hear what Bernie Barmer and Mick Dunn had to say to some of the issues that they think are a big part of the Mornington League at the moment.
Would you like to have an under-19 team?
Of course we'd love to have an under-19 team, but you know, when someone sits on his throne in his office looking at a map and says that all these places are close to each other, Lorne's close to Melbourne too, but it still takes 2.5, 3 hours to get there.
Cranbourne doesn't take 2.5 hours to get there though, does it?
No, it does, and probably one of the fastest growing areas in the state of Victoria, and demographically it'll probably kill places like Mount Eliza and Sorrento.
Do you think so?
Yep.
What do you think, Mick?
Oh, look, I tend to agree with Bernie. I think my issue at the moment is making sure that we have a look at what this competition's doing. We've got Peninsula clubs involved, and I don't think we need to be considering Cranbourne or any other club for that matter at this stage. I'm still not convinced we need to look outside of the Mornington Peninsula.
So you don't think we need a third division? You think the 2-division format is good?
Look, I'm unsure about a third division, but we've always said that right from the outset of this debate that we wanted to see how divisional football would go before we introduced the third division, and I'm yet to see any evidence to suggest otherwise, why we need a third division at this stage.
So are you concerned about the long-term future of this competition?
Most definitely. Look, I made a comment the other day. I think the sustainability of grassroots footy's under question at the moment. My view is that within 5 years, 40% of grassroots clubs will be bankrupt, and I can honestly say now that I think a majority of them are trading insolvently as we speak, and the AFL's failing to consider grassroots footy at any level at the moment.
AFL South East shouldn't take credit for the performances on field. They're an administrative group. You're just lucky that people turn up at your game on a long weekend when everyone's down there and says, Jesus, isn't this good? Our gate's down 20%, costs are going up 10% with AFL South East, and they can't even run the budget.
I think it's about time that the AFL puts some money back into grassroots. I don't think extra competitions or managing competitions from above is the answer. I think we need to look at how we can pump some money back in, how we can promote local grassroots footy at grassroots level.
And you mentioned before, Bernie, about someone sitting on his throne at head office. Have you spoken to John Anderson much about what Mick said about just trying to get more money into grassroots footy and coming up with ways that you can get more money into grassroots footy to ensure it thrives, not only survives but thrives?
Oh, look, I think that John reads an article in a paper where I or others have an opinion and it doesn't agree with him or AFL South East, so he very unprofessionally sets about denigrating me, Sorrento, Don Scott, Tony Jewell, at a lunch at Red Hill recently, and also in the last week's record when we had our bye. So he's demonstrated how unprofessional he really is.
So why has there been such an increase in your costs?
Well, I put it back to mismanagement. We had a 10% increase last year because AFL South East said that they forgot to charge us for GST the year before and put everything up by 10% last year. So I think that's a little bit of mismanagement and incompetence from their part.
And John, what's your view on that?
That's fascinating stuff, particularly from Bernie. Look, just the one thing I picked up there, besides having a bit of a laugh, was he referred to the fact that we have different opinions. A lot of the stuff that was quoted by Bernie in the paper was factually incorrect, and he made a big play in that article and has ever since, that the Mornington Peninsula has been paying off debt from other leagues. Well, that's just absolutely factually incorrect. And it's a problem. It's a pity because Bernie hasn't been to any of the presidents' meetings over the last or during this season. He didn't come to the AGM, or the club wasn't represented at the AGM. So if he'd actually been to those meetings, he would have explained. And could I just very briefly say that the clubs themselves formed a finance committee to have a look at the finances of the MPNFL, and they reported back to the presidents back in May that the league wasn't paying off debts of other leagues. In fact, the debt that it had to pay off was its own. So when AFL South East came in to operate the Mornington Peninsula Footy League, there was a massive debt of a couple of $100,000 that had been carried over from the previous administration of the MPNFL. So look, there's a lot of factual incorrect statements that are going around that I guess as a body we have to communicate better to the clubs to let them know that some of this stuff's not true.
Can you communicate better when many just have a view that won't change no matter how well you communicate?
Oh, well, I've had a couple of one-on-one nose-to-noses with Bernie, and I don't think I'm going to get through to him. He doesn't think I listen, and I don't think he's listening either. So I think that's just an ongoing battle. I did get a letter from Sorrento last year, which was to say, just if you think you want to come and watch Sorrento play next year, don't bother because you're not welcome here. So that sort of explains the relationship between myself and Sorrento at the moment.
Well, that's very disappointing, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, Sorrento being one of those clubs that basically want everything on their own terms. And I'll be honest here, look, they're very successful on the field and the seniors. They don't have an under-19 team, but I mean, this is a good competition.
They're a minority at the moment too. I mean, the league's never been better on field, and you talk to so many people, and it's strong. They're behind it. Footy's thriving, but you've got a couple, and they've got their own opinions. But I think it's a minority. I don't think it's a majority.
Do you think there's more that want Cranbourne in than wanted the SEFNL competition in?
Oh, look, at the moment, what we've said to Cranbourne is go and talk to the clubs one-on-one and just get the views of the clubs, and they tell me they're getting quite a good response. But I've got a fair idea where they will get a negative response from. But look, that's something that we'll address in the next month or two, as to after Cranbourne talking to all the clubs how they respond.
There are two presidents that certainly are in favour of Cranbourne, in favour of a third division, and they played each other on the weekend. Lane Warren and Somerville, the Lane Warren president Norm Whiteside, and the Somerville president Chris Fawcett. Here's what they had to say.
Norm, we'll start with you. What's your view on whether Cranbourne should come into our competition?
Yeah, g'day Dan, thanks for coming down today.
Pleasure.
Yeah, look, Jerry rang me a couple of weeks ago, and look, Lane Warren's in a position whereby we were historically on the fringe, I guess, of our geographical area with the Footy League. And you know, you look at Cranbourne, they're the next door neighbour to us, and we welcome them with open arms into the competition. We think it'd be healthy for the sport. They're right beside us. They're a good, strong club, and I think it's a benefit to the league.
And Chris, what's your view? I believe you are in favour of it as well.
Yeah, 100%. What happened at the start of the year with the SEFNL vote is we've effectively shut the SEFNL down. So those clubs have got to go somewhere. As Norm said, Cranbourne are right nearby, so the argument about travel and geographic location is nonsense. They're 5 minutes from Devon Meadows, so that shouldn't be an issue. They're a good, strong club. They're well run, a good bunch of people, and I just think they can come into the comp and just join in, and away we go. And then this will help the league evolve. Both leagues need to evolve, otherwise the smaller clubs could potentially die down the track. So we need to eventually get to a Division 3, and hopefully that'll happen in the next couple of years if we let sides in 1, 2 at a time, and it should work itself out.
So if we have a third division, you're thinking teams from the Southern Football League, you're thinking maybe South Mornington as well, who in the amateurs, are they the teams maybe that could help fill third division?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe South Mornington has been spoken about. There's some clubs further up the Nepean Highway around Chelsea Heights, Morty and stuff like that. So definitely, I believe there's a spot in our competition. We've got a thriving competition. Look around here today, we've got a fantastic crowd. The games are competitive in Div 2, as we discussed prior to going on air. Every game is very competitive. So if we can get these other teams in, and potentially, we were talking earlier, probably an 8 to 10 team competition across 3 grades would be fantastic.
So
that's a little bit different.
Yeah,
Isn't
it is a bit different. I mean, they've been in favour of it for a long time. I mean, Langwarrin have got great juniors, John, as we know, and Somerville are a team working pretty hard to get better. They're good enough to be in 2nd division, both those two teams, but they know that a 3rd division and Cranbourne would just make the competition better as far as they're concerned.
Well, those two sides you're talking about there, they've found a level. So have Sorrento and Mount Eliza, to be honest. So a lot of clubs find a level in a divisional competition, and you know, that from a financial point of view. Look, going back to one of the previous comments about in 4 or 5 years there'll be clubs going out the door. I don't actually agree to that, and that's part of what we're trying to do, is the sustainability of clubs. We need, as an organisation, we've got a responsibility to give some education to clubs, and we'll start a process there with their governance and all that sort of stuff. But gee, I mean, we want to support all 22 MPNFL clubs to survive long term, plus a few more. I will say, just in terms of Bernie Barmer's argument there, that the new divisional structure has caused the Sorrento under-19s to disappear. I just totally reject that as well.
What's caused them to disappear?
Well,
no juniors.
Well, a lot of the kids have gone overseas.
Yeah.
A lot of them are opted to work, and a lot of them probably aren't good enough to play regular senior football.
Well, he plans travel, and you look at some of the country leagues around where I'm from. They had to travel 2 hours to play some of their away games.
Correct.
These guys are travelling 50 minutes.
Well, they were travelling to Devon Meadows and Pearcedale.
So it's probably better for them to travel to Edithvale than it is to Pearcedale and Devon Meadows.
So I'd like to see Sorrento put a bit more work into their junior club. So the same to say they haven't got under-19s because of the travel. They haven't got under-17s either, who play in a localised competition. So the fact is there just aren't enough numbers. They've got a strong under-16s at the moment,
which is really good.
So they'll come through and become part of it over time. But that's where clubs have got to invest in their junior clubs for sure.
One more quick one, John, because time's on the wing, but and we would hope you'd come in again because there are so many issues to talk about. Are you comfortable with the point system? Do you think all the clubs properly understand the point system?
I'm very comfortable with the point system. There's a few little things that creep into it that you look at the way it's structured and you think, well, that's a bit outside the square. But the system itself, I'm all in favour of the salary cap system. That's all part of the sustainability. So clubs, they spend within their limit, and also the points. In principle, I agree with it.
I still believe AFL players, if you play 50 or 100 games, it should be higher than someone who was on the list. But I mean, that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, maybe you should get on the committee next year, mate, hey?
On what the
writing a new book on points.
Oh, well, I'd like to. I mean, I just believe it's silly. If you played 150 AFL games, you should be a 7 or 8 point player.
Have you seen the list of all the criteria that go through?
I have.
And it's a long one.
It is difficult, and you've got to get your head around it. But look, we'd like to talk more about that at another time, John. I know you're a busy man, but we'd hope we'd have you back again.
I'm happy to be here.
There's so much to talk about.
Happy to hear any time and refute allegations. Right?
Good on you. Well, we'll go to a new break. We'll go to a break, I should say. We've got a brand new segment coming up next, and no one misses our tone. We all cop it. It's called, oh dear, Lookalikes. That's next. St Andrew's Brewery, using the finest ingredients, ensuring each beer is full of flavour and character.
Hey guys, Brad Sykes here from Syke for Sport. So we've been in the Frankston and Mornington Peninsula region for the last 4 years, starting out as a player at the Frankston Dolphins with my good mate Sammy Fox, and started to get involved with the kids of our region just to try to, effectively get them psyched for sport. And yeah, from there it's grown, and we've worked within school programs and also school holidays. So our aim is to teach kids life skills through sport. Just letting you know about our school holiday program coming up in the July holidays. Looking forward to that with some AFL women and some VFL footballers taking you through the skills of the game. Georgia Walker, the Saints captain, Bridie Kennedy from Carlton, Trent Dennis-Lane, obviously a wonderful player for Sydney and St Kilda. People around the area that, like myself, who love the region and developing our youngsters. So open to 5 to 14 year olds, and it's definitely cheaper than childcare. Get them along. Go Syke for Sport.
It was fantastic. fantastic to have the AFL South East CEO John Anderson in the studio, and not everyone's going to have the same opinion as John. That's why we love the industry, we love the competition. Everyone has different views, and you may have a view on what John's had to say, so get on the GameFace Facebook page and put your view forward, and we'll obviously have the interview in full, obviously on the GameFace app, and we look forward to getting your responses, because John is doing the best he possibly can under tremendous pressure. Clubs have got their own agendas, I suppose, boys.
100%.
Makes it tough, doesn't it?
Not everyone's going to agree.
No, but I think he's got the majority right.
But I think that he understands there's got to be a third division, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
And look,
I do too.
I agree. There are so many neighbouring clubs and neighbouring suburbs of clubs in the Mornington Peninsula Football League that could join forces with this league.
That are either playing amateurs or southern.
Exactly right. Now for some fun, and let's have a look at the No Regrets Boxing Challenge so far, and the boxers, the players from the competition that have said, yep, they put their hand up and they want to have a crack. Bailey Frey Karingal, Matty Clark, good footballer too, Edith Vale Aspendale, the Bongo, who was outstanding again for Pines, Tim Bongetti, Jack Gipp, who can apparently he can go a bit, can't he?
He was on the verge of going to the Commonwealth Games for boxing.
Was he? That good. What? The Commonwealth Games just gone?
It's gone. He just missed out, yeah.
Byron Barry from YCW, Mitch Hallahan from Sorrento, who continues to play great footy, but he can apparently go too. He should be playing league footy, I reckon. Cadell Key from Pines, Chad Harris, who said a few weeks ago he's still on his way back from injury, from Sorrento. The other one is Brad Clark from Chelsea, who we spoke to a couple of weeks ago as well. So there's so many of them that are pretty keen.
Didn't Lee Polholt put his hand up as well?
Lee Polholt said he was also a bit interested.
Kim and Bongo were looking to square off, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right, because didn't they get involved in a bit of an incident, was it last year?
Yeah, Bongo got, no, it was this year. Bongo got reported for charging the length of the field and give him a bit of a touch, so might be a bit of payback there.
Now, we've got a new segment, guys. We mentioned it earlier, it's called Lookalikes, and no one misses out. Now, we want you to send in your lookalikes to win 2 ringside tickets to the GameFace No Regrets Boxing Challenge. And here are our lookalikes. I've said this all along. John Longmire and Chris Holcomb, except Chris has got the beard, but you do look a lot like John Longmire. Certainly in the face anyway, you won't go any further with that one. This is my favourite one, Tony Blackburn.
That's a bit rough, isn't it? And, It's
a ripper. Kyle Hutchison, who's just played his 200th game. It wasn't the greatest 200th game for him. It finished early for YCW on the weekend. And Daniel Day-Lewis in one of his many, many movies. Is that the movie when he was Abraham Lincoln? Not sure. Aaron Edwards, who played 94 AFL games.
Jakey.
Tamura Morrison as Jake the Muss. Did you guys see that movie? It's a brutal movie.
Beautiful
one of the most
movie.
brutal movies I've ever seen. This
that's
is
a
my
good one.
favourite, Simon Goosey and Bruce Willis. Very much. I wonder how the Goose would feel about that without the beard. I reckon
pretty close,
he'd be pretty happy about Bruce Willis. And there's one more, the drum roll. Well, poor old Jay Coughlin, or Jai Coughlin, who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet. He's a Frankston YCW player. I think he'd be very, very disappointed that he's been paired up with Dan Lonigan, who's got a very good head for radio. As I say, boys, you cannot grow grass on a busy street, can you, Tone?
No.
That's why I'm not sure how busy your street is with your hair.
We did this last year, the lookalikes at Mornington. I'm sure the whole Peninsula community have got a lot saved up ready to go, so hopefully they send them in.
Absolutely, and an opportunity, of course, to win 2 tickets ringside for the No Regrets Boxing Challenge in November. Up next, we're going to look at Division 1, and as we said a bit earlier, it was a magnificent round. The top 4 sides played each other.
It was a great
finals-like matches, and if we get matches like that in the finals, we're going to be pretty happy. That's next.
Sean Downey of Rosebud has got a 7-point lead in the GameFace Best Players Award in Division 1 of the seniors after picking up 5 votes in Rosebud's win on the weekend to go to 40. His teammate Greg Bentley didn't pick any up for the Buds. He remains on 33. Joel Miller of Mornington picked up 5 to go to 30. Mick Meehan of Edith Vale Aspendale remains on 29, didn't pick up any on the weekend, even though he played quite well in his team's 1-point win over Pines. And making up the top 5, the man who played his 200th game from Frankston YCW also went pointless. He stays on 28. That's Kyle Hutchison. In the reserves, Jacob Beggs of Pines scored 4 points. He's on 33. He's taken the lead from Jared Douglas of Bond Beach on 31. Didn't score on the weekend, as did Ben Sharman of Frankston Bombers, also on 31. And Luke Black, there are 3 players equal second on 31. He also didn't score, but picking up 6 points to get within 1 point of those players in equal second, now on 30, very tight at the top, Ed Ellis of Rosebud. And also in contention now, after a 6-point game on the weekend, Julian Walton of Seaford. He's on 28. In the under-19s, and Rosebud doing well in all the Best Player Awards, because Nick Sakalis is now the leader. 6 points on the weekend to go to 34. His teammate Mitchell Sherrar remains on 30. Ryan Rose of Mornington's on 29. Lyndon Vicar of Seaford's also on 29. None of those 3 players scored on the weekend. And Jason Carter of Bond Beach, 5 points to go to 28. Looking at the goal-kicking table after 11 rounds, in the seniors for First Division, Aaron Edwards kicked 4 in Pines' narrow loss to the Eagles on the weekend, and he's got 34 for the season. Geordie Moncrief, 2 for Mount Eliza, he's 30. Lee Paholke helped Sorrento get over the line with 5, he's now got 28. Trent Dennis Lane, 2 for Bond Beach on 25. And Jarrett Grant, 2 for the Frankston Bombers, he moves to 23. In the First Division reserves, Chaplin back in the reserves, kicked 1 for Frankston YCW to go to 26. 2 for Tom Loney of Seaford, and he's on 19. And 1 to O'Neill of Edithvale Aspendale, who's on 12. The under-19 goal kickers, there's a new leader with Sam Sturt playing for Mount Eliza in the seniors. He was the leader. He stays on 25. He's been usurped by Sam Hart of Edithvale Aspendale, who booted 4 to go to 27. Tom Wisniewski of Mornington stays on 18. He didn't kick any on the weekend. And Josh O'Toole, 2 goals to go to 16 for Frankston YCW. In First Division, the top 4 played each other. On Saturday, league leader Sorrento travelled to Mount Eliza, and for 3 quarters, the second-place Redlegs were the better team, leading by 16 points at 3-quarter time. However, the Sharks proved why they're the premiership favourites, slamming on 6 goals to 1 to win by 15 points. On Sunday, 4th-place Pines hosted Edithvale Aspendale, who were 3rd. This was a match worthy of a final, with 13 goals kicked in the first term, 7 by the Pythons and 6 by the Eagles. It was tight all day, with Pines' accuracy eluding them after quarter time in a match they should have won, having 29 scoring shots to 20, but they fell short by 1 point. In other First Division games, Frankston Bombers blew Mornington away early with a 5-0 opening term to win their 6th game of the season. A serious injury in the second quarter to Luke Painter of Frankston YCW in the form of a hip dislocation saw that match called off against Seaford, with the Tigers having scored the only goal at that stage. Both teams were awarded 2 points, and Rosebud upset the disappointing Bond Beach to win their 3rd game of the season.
Well, what a round of footy it was. We've sort of spoken about the 2 main games a little bit, but which was the better game, do you think, Chris? I mean, Mount Eliza were wonderful for 3 quarters in pretty tough conditions against Sorrento.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, you just saw 2 teams going hammer and tongue. That first quarter was an extraordinary
well,
quarter
7 goals
of footy.
to 6, wasn't it?
Well, the only form of defence was the fence around the ground, keeping the spectators out in that first quarter.
That was a fence.
There wasn't much defence at all in that game. If I was going to choose between one, I'd probably pick that. Mount Eliza Sorrento game was a belter. In wet weather, the skill level was unbelievable. Mount Eliza's kids, geez, they're having a crack this year. They've gone about it the right way.
I think they have.
Geez, they're doing well, and they're responding to how Troy's coaching. I saw one thing that I hadn't seen from Mount Eliza in a while. There was a goal in the 3rd quarter, and they flocked, and that's a sign that everyone's up and about.
And they're embraced,
They always got there. And the only thing that got Sorrento over the line is, like I said, Hallahan, Tapscott, Marston down back. They just went to another level, and Mount Eliza couldn't match that level. They didn't stop trying. They just could not get to that level. And Wooshka, and they were very impressive.
They're not ready yet?
They're thereabouts. I don't think they're probably a year away from really threatening. And they'll give a few sides a nudge finals, but Sorrento had them.
The good thing is that they've got leg speed.
Yeah.
And on that big Frankston ground, that might play into their hands.
Well, and with Dawes going out too, the Sorrento side, they didn't really have that key. Paholke kicked a few, but it changed their setup a little bit. So, I was very impressed with both sides.
One interesting question to both of you. In the Edithvale, the YC and Seaford game, right? The game didn't go the full until was finished before half time.
Yeah, it took 20
now
minutes
both
for the
clubs
to get there. Yep.
would they have to pay the whole amount of payments to the boys?
I would have thought so, mate. You're giving out your time, you're getting to the game, you're doing the same preparation.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a very good
100%.
question. They would. I mean, and they
course,
understand
yeah.
that's footy, and there'd
Yeah,
be,
no, I
there'd be
understand.
no issue in that. It's a good question. And now, of course, on Sunday we just love the game. I mean,
Yep.
in the end, I think Pine should have won. They were the better team. Those dominant forwards were magnificent.
Yep.
Yatesy, obviously, without Brett Dorr, who he touched on earlier, but he was trying to move players around a bit. Canellan spent some time down back.
Yep.
Even Big Wiley kicked an important goal early. He went down back.
Yep.
I like Michael Bussey. He can really
He can
play.
play.
At playing at both ends, because Meehan, who gave them a lot of run,
Yeah.
and Mullins had their hands full, didn't they?
They did, and that's the challenge Yader's got for the next time that they play each other, which will be in a final.
Yeah.
Is stopping those two key forwards, and I think with a bit of research, I think he'll get that combination right. And I think Edifo were flat. I think they didn't play that well, and for him to sneak out of that 1 point, I think Sorrento did enough to win. Edifo did enough to win against quality opposition, and I think that really sets a tone for later on.
Well, for YCW, two great servants. We saw him on Lookalikes before. Kyle Hutchison played his 200th game, and we caught up with him in the lead up to that match.
One of the stars of the Frankston YCW Football Club has been for many years as Kyle Hutchison. He's a former league best and fairest winner. He's been around this football club for over 20 years. Kyle, do you reckon you're just part of the furniture nowadays, that you just come to this club and your car could drive you here?
That's my style. I'd like to just go unnoticed around here, so that's, yeah, hopefully.
How many premierships?
7.
You've been described by some as the Dane Swan of the Mornington Peninsula Football League. Do you think you are?
The waddle's probably the same, running style. And I guess the tattoos is probably the same, but other than that, I think he's
the laid-back attitude?
Yeah, probably a little bit of that as well. But other than that, actually, yeah, there's a few similarities.
Dane Swan of the Mornington Peninsula Football Netball League, a very laid-back character, but he can certainly play. And a guy I really like, who's been around the competition a fair while and has played in a lot of premierships, and there was one he missed that I think YCW lost, and he went back to his hometown near Wagga and played in a premiership, and he wasn't going to play senior footy this year, but Wayne Cap said he needed him. He's the reserves coach, Louis Roberts. We spoke to him ahead of his 100th game.
Desperate times require desperate measures, but Louis Roberts is a legend around this football club as well.
Yeah, that's true. I was just planning on running around in the twos and probably not even playing all the games there, but the way things have fallen at the moment and the injuries that have happened, yeah, I've sort of got the call up the last 2 weeks. It's been good, I've enjoyed it, and we'll see how we go. YC's been so good to me that you would never say no to an opportunity to go up and help out and try your best.
Can you still win it?
Yeah, we can still win it. Yeah, we've obviously got players that come back. It's a really even comp, which is, I think, fantastic. There's any number of the top 3, even 4. There's been upsets all the year round where even sides in the bottom 3 have knocked off guys in and around the 5. So I think it's great for the comp, but I think we can definitely win it.
Lots of good goal kickers, Chris, too.
Yeah, they really come to the fore. So you had Edwards kicking goals at Pines. Paholke, after doors, went down, kicking 5. Foxy, one of my favourites down at Frankston, got off the leash with 5.
Very good player, and Frankston, they got off to a wonderful start.
Frankston, the danger side going in. YC got to have a real look at what they're doing. Freeman again with 4, sneaked in again.
Who went to him? Langford did.
Yeah, I think so, because they like to keep Marston off the leash and
Yeah.
let him set up. And geez, you see playing some good football at the moment.
Oh, good player.
Oh, mate, he's playing some cracking football.
Well, I mean, Langford, in the end, he likes to rebound as well, and
Yeah.
I didn't think he was as disciplined or defensive as he could have been, and
Yeah.
giving away a bit of height on young Freeman, who can certainly play.
And Brigden as well through that back. So, yeah, they're great. So, do you want me to rip into Team of the Week, mate?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, all right.
You've had all positive comments this week.
Why wouldn't I, mate?
Yeah. Would be too.
There's a lot of blokes. If you have a look, it's justified. Most of these blokes in the best every week.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
looking
so.
after them.
Away you go.
So back line, Corey Buchan, Benny Northover and Ongarello. Halfbacks are Marston, Howlett's still in, and O'Hanlon. Centre line, Hobbsy comes in from Mornington, back from Port Melbourne duties, straight best on ground. Hallahan and Hallahan make up the rest of the midfield. Lockie Street, Michael Bussey, who you saw on the weekend, and you're impressed with him.
Yeah, I really like him.
Lukey Tapscott on that other half-forward flank. Forward line, Aaron Edwards, Jordan Moncrief, Sammy Fox with his 5.
Yeah.
Rux Terrich, Hutcho, Sean Downey. I wanted to touch on Rosebud a little bit, but Sean Downey's rover. Monaghan, Huswaite, Sutton, Miller, Freeman, and Meehan makes his first appearance for the year.
Will they survive Rosebud?
Rosebud, I really doubted what they could do after Bentley went down last
And
week.
watching what
They
they did against
responded.
Mornington.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were pathetic against Mornington. What they did, they responded, and the
It was
young
really even
players.
for three quarters, wasn't it?
Mate, but you look at Huswaite and Downey, they're just kids, and they responded well, and they got that win against Bomb Beach. That was just fantastic.
Yeah, well, it was. They were very, very good, and Bomb
Yeah.
Beach have been pretty disappointing, haven't they? It hasn't been a good year for them after making the grand final of the Peninsula.
And they won't have Jonesy back. He's out for the year with a bad knee.
That's very bad news.
So, yes, they'll struggle. But I think McDonald's back next week or the week after.
Okay.
And I did speak to Trent Dennis Lane last week too. He's a lovely fella.
He is. And look,
So you, Dan.
Thanks, Tom.
But he only
What's
played.
that got to do with the price of fish?
Oh, I just want to make sure that you look after me. Get a bag of me and you support him.
Yeah, I always look after you, Tony. You know that. I love you.
I'm his favourite, though.
Yeah.
Now let's look at the tips. We'll get to the. We've got Josh Moore coming up first, and he's out and about, of course, with the under-19 players that he went to interview, plus his team of the week. That's up next, and then we'll look at our tips for another big round of footy in the Mornington Peninsula Football Netball League.
Okay guys, welcome to the Under-19 segment for GameFace. My name's Josh Moore, and as you know I do the Under-19 Team of the Week each week. As a part of the show from now on going forward, I'm going to get out and about and chat to a few of the Under-19 coaches and a few of the star players in the competition. So for the first week, out and about this week, I've got the Tyab Football Club on board, and their Under-19 coach Andrew Brady has been kind enough to join us this week, along with one of their young stars in Ryan Bull. So I just wanted to have a quick chat to you guys. Thanks for coming down. Andrew, obviously been a little bit of a tough year, but it is your first year at Tyab coaching the under-19s this year. I've had a fair bit to do with you, mate, over the journey. You've been really good to me, and I think Tyab are in really, really good hands with you at the helm. How's the journey been so far this year with your under-19 boys?
Yeah, we had last year we weren't able to field a side, so we basically started from scratch this season. We've got players in our side from 8 different clubs, so it's really been a matter of just bonding the boys and making sure they enjoy their footy. So it has been a little bit of a struggle, but we've been competitive in most games, and we were fortunate enough to get a win against Devon Meadows. So no, the season's going really well. The boys are great.
Yep, very good. And young Bully down there, mate. How's your season been going so far? I know you've got an injury at the moment, but how are you enjoying your footy, and how's it been going for you so far?
Yeah, so ever since the pre-season back in November, it's been really good. Consistent training and playing the games with the boys, getting to know everyone. It's been really great, and things come along well.
What's some of the rewarding aspects that you found coaching Tyab this year?
Yeah, look, it's I think just seeing the improvement in the boys, but just seeing them actually enjoy their footy. Look, at different times it has been tough. You play the strong sides, and you can get beaten on the scoreboard. In the vicinity of 80 to 100 points. Just seeing how the guys respond and really come back and look forward to the next week or the next challenge that's ahead of them. So that's probably been the most rewarding thing, just seeing how the players are responding each week and how they're going about their footy, and just the fact that they're really enjoying playing at Tyab in our under-19 group.
What sort of coach is he?
He's very calm, collected, really cares about each individual player that comes in. He's really keen to get some more players to join us as well. Every day he puts in the hard work. He's always at training, doesn't miss a single training session, and is always there to help everyone out. It's good.
Now, obviously, I do the team of the week each week, and I have seen a few of the young Tyab kids get online and give me a little bit of a pasting. So now's your chance to tell us who I've been leaving out, who's been a little bit stiff to miss the team of the week each week. Now, my team of the week is coming out this week. There is 2 Tyab kids in there this week, so we've got Brad Williams and Lockie Cox, both playing senior footy. But no doubt there's a couple of other blokes that might be in there in the coming few weeks. So who do you think should be up there, mate?
Well, mate, when I first started coaching Tyab in the early 90s, I ended up coaching 4 of the Hose boys. And Neil Hose is synonymous with Tyab. And now I'm actually Darren's son, Will. I'm coaching him. All this time down the track. So Will is, I think, look, Lockie Cox mightn't be happy with me saying this, but I think he'd be red hot favourite for our best and fairest, and Will Hose is a name to remember, and one who's having a really great season.
Yeah, I think Hosey might be one of the ones that jumps on Facebook and gives me a bit of a pasting. So in the next couple of weeks, Hosey, we'll have to get you in there, mate.
Pencon Garden Supplies and Mini Mix Concrete is a family-owned business that has served the Mornington Peninsula magnificently for more than 50 years. For all your garden and building supplies, concrete, soil, sand and mulch, visit Bart and the team at 58 Peninsula Avenue Rye or call 5985 2252 or 5985 2998.
Okay, so the Division 2 Under-19 Team of the Week is a little bit different this week. I've made a few changes. There's been about 11 changes. Have made a few phone calls and got around to a few different coaches to upgrade the team this week. So hopefully it's as accurate as we possibly can, but really enjoying your comments and feedback that we get on Facebook, normally on a Friday night. So more than happy to get your feedback. Look forward to hearing it. So here we go, the team of the week for Division 2, starting from the back line. McGee from Hastings, Smith from Crib Point and Fuller from Red Hill. The half-back line is Turner, Ryan and Irwin. The centre line is Aidan Marquezani, Lockie Hind, who made his debut for Kringle and got his jumper presented to by the great Dermot Brereton. Brad Williams on the wing, one of the Tyab boys. The half-forward line is Sandford, Whitford and Sullivan. The full forward line is Robbins, Allen and Mason from Somerville, who had a great game and got his team over the line against Langwarrin on the weekend. In the rucks, Big Billy Gertz, Nick Rosen and Ned Shannon. And on the bench, we've got a few new ones here. Galano, I hope I said that right, from Chelsea. Foy from Hastings, Reid from Langwarrin, Lockie Cox, who made his debut from the Tyab Football Club on the weekend, Zach Jennings, who would probably be leading Rise Under-19 Best and Fairest, and Kane Hawkins from Red Hill makes his debut into the team as well. So there it is, there you have it, the team of the week for Division 2. Look forward to getting your feedback, guys. We'd just like to thank the Mornington Hotel for having us today. They've got a really good setup down here, awesome sports bar. Very recommend yourself getting down here, having a punt on the horses, having a beer on a Sunday arvo. Nothing better than down here at the Mornington, the old Tantai. Get down here. Thank you for your hospitality today.
Get your game face on!
Well, that's going to be one of the regular things that Josh Moore, the coach of the Rise senior team, will be doing. He's involved in the Vic Country Under-19 team, of which we saw Nick Carlin in action in the seniors for Edithvale Aspendale, one of 7 players from the MPNFL involved in that squad. So he'll be out and about doing interviews also with his team of the week every week. So we look forward to that. Let's get into tips in second division. The bottom two play each other, Crib Point and Tyab.
Yeah.
Throw a coin in the air. Well, the other Tyab were pretty competitive against Shimano.
Yeah, they were for 3 quarters, and it was just that last quarter. I like what Tyab's been doing. I think their form has been better. Tyab for me.
Yeah, I like Tyab.
Tyab, me too. Dramana and Somerville. Dramana at home.
Yeah, Dramana.
Yeah, Dramana for me.
Big match, Langwarrin and Kringle. Langwarrin just have to win this to stay in touch. If they don't, they're gone.
And there was nothing in this game. It was the first game of the year at Kringle. Langwarrin lost by under 10 points, I think.
Destiny,
I think Langwarrin at home.
Destiny in their own hands the next 3 or 4 weeks, I think, Langwarrin, and that sets their season.
Pearcedale and Devon Meadows, 50-50.
Drew Preachery's playing for Pearcedale this week.
Oh, he is too. They were talking about that. Yes, that's
I tipped Devon too.
Yeah, well, it'll be good to have Drew involved, and hopefully we can get an opportunity to have a chat to him at Pearcedale. They were talking about that, some of the boys in the match against Crib Point a couple of weeks ago. I'm going for Pearcedale because the great Drew Preachery will be involved. Ryan Hastings need to find some form, and Rye, well, they've just got to keep winning.
Well, I think Rye, it's a good opportunity for Rye. I think Hastings, they've got a lot of injuries at the moment, and I know that they've got a few more injuries on the weekend, Dan.
Good sides bounce back though. If they're going to be a finals team, they've got to beat Rye.
And match of the round, Red Hill and Chelsea.
Yeah.
Big game. Red Hill at home, I'm going for them.
Yeah, I like Red Hill on the outside. I think Chelsea, like you were saying, on that big ground.
I think their leg speed will be shown.
Yeah.
I think that Red Hill will exploit them by their kicking efficiency and their leg speed.
In First Division, Mornington and Edithvale Aspendale. We saw the Goose down at Pines on the weekend, having a good look at Edie Asp. He's got some work to do because they were pretty poor against the Bombers. I think Edie Asp will win that.
Yeah, they're in a lot of trouble this weekend. They've got a grand final reunion. Edithvale get